It is time for us to once again take in a visit from Thorin Christendotter, Main Street Magazine on Robin Hood Radio. Good morning, Thorin.
Good morning. How are you?
I am absolutely fine, other than spilling half a bottle of soda on the counter here.
Got to keep that away from the equipment.
You know, it's one of the first things when I got into broadcasting. I was a smoker, like everybody was back in the 70s, and I also ate a lot. And my engineer, Henry Ellenbogen, would not allow smoking in the studios because the nicotine built up on the equipment, which should have told me something about what it was doing in my lungs.
Yep.
But he also didn't allow any food or drink in the studio.
Yeah.
And so every time I knock over a can of soda or something in the studio, I think of Henry Ellenbogen. Life is strange. It's my own little haiku. Okay, it's not poetry.
Yeah.
All right, I associate things with people that happened in my life. Well, let's take a look once again at some stories in this month's edition of Main Street Magazine, which is available for pickup throughout the tri-state region, and also available on your website, mainstreetmag.com. The story we talk about, and I knew about this back when I lived in the Kingston area, the Catskill Mountain Railroad. The story is called All Aboard, a Journey Back into the Past of Kingston by reading about the Catskill Mountain Railroad.
Yeah, Regina brought us this story, but there are a bunch of rail trails around that are not necessarily in use. Like, we in Millerton and through Amenia up to Quebec Falls have, our walking rail trail, but they've put this one in use for sightseeing type of thing. And I guess there are a couple of them over there. You might know better than I do, over in Ulster County area, Greene County, Ulster County. And I've been dying to take my kids on one of these. I think they have a fall foliage one and a couple others that sound really fun. So Regina shared with us the story of this rail trail and what happened and where it is today.
They even have something that's up by the reservoir where you get one of those hand cars. And
Yep.
And you can put your family on it and do that. When I lived in Kingston many, many years ago, there's a place in Pennsylvania called Steamtown.
Okay.
And they came very close to moving to Kingston. The flats on the side where the New York Thruway goes by Kingston, they came very close to coming there, but the deal never got done. But there's still, like here, the Berkshire Mountain Railroad and everything. The railroads, and people love railroads and love taking the trips on them as well. They're great family excursions, and even up 22 at the old ironworks, they have a little railroad now that takes you through the ironworks and the history of the ironworks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so railroading and railroads are very, very popular, except in West Cornwall, Connecticut, because the railroad company keeps spraying everybody's streets with. They never follow what they say they're going to do. But other than that, railroading is a big family event, and even in the wintertime, the Berkshire Mountain Railroad has their Christmas run that they do as well. So,
right. Well, it's great that they're able to use the old rail trails and do something fun for everyone who wants to enjoy it.
And I know people in Millerton, the rail trail in Millerton has brought an incredible amount of business in, even though it's not a railroad anymore. It's an amazing what it's done to the vitality and to the economy of Millerton. So either way, the rail trails are being used, whether they're for rail or whether they're for recreation.
Exactly.
Let's go on to tulips. Your story is Tulip Mania.
Yes. Palm, or Catriona Pike, as her full name is an avid gardener, and she in this issue she actually has two stories. One, and this one is the tulip one, talking about how to grow tulips and kind of the ins and outs of it. And for me, a non-gardener, I even found it very fascinating. I appreciate flowers, but I'm not allowed to touch them, so I have an extra affection for people who are able to do that, but they're beautiful.
Yeah, tulips are something. Well, first of all, the way people who really know what they're doing plant their gardens. So at different times of years, you have different layers of the garden that blooms as the other one's going away. And I'm not a person. In front of my house, I planted non-colorful plants. They're just green. They turn a little purple. I don't even know what their names are. and I've got two big green things that look like palm trees, but they're not. I have no idea what they are, but I'm not a big color person.
Yeah.
But when you look at somebody who knows what they're doing, when they plant
Yes.
tulips and other things, it really is absolutely amazing. It's amazing.
And Palm's property is on the way to Salisbury, in Salisbury, I guess. And every time I drive by, I love looking into her yard and seeing, her beautiful flowers. So I really appreciate that, and folks like her who have that touch and who know exactly what they're doing when it comes to gardens.
The only thing I can name by sight is forsythia.
Oh yeah.
That's right, because we used to call it goldenrod. My mother was allergic to it, so that's the only plant.
Ah.
That's the only plant I know by name. I'm sorry, I have to admit that to folks, but I like looking at a well laid out garden. We'll switch from gardens to another interesting story. The cars in my life. I can recount every car I've ever owned or driven.
Yes. Well, Dominique did the same thing here for us, and since this is our transportation issue, she proposed this article, and I actually quite enjoyed it. And she goes through all the cars that she's had in her life and how that kind of threads the story of her life. And it's quite personal, the piece. So, I hope people appreciate that, and it kind of makes you think of your own life in a way. But it's very open and raw, and just, it threads her entire life, and where she was, what was happening, who was in it, her children. So I thought it was, I quite enjoyed it. It was something very different for us, at least.
Well, most people won't admit it, but I'll say 90% of the people, as long as they have a car, they don't care what it is. But I can remember the first car I learned to drive in, and it was a 1958 Ford Fairlane. And it had three on the tree. It had 3-speed on the tree instead of the stick on the floor. And another, and one of the cars that I'm so sorry that I gave away, my brother Mitchell had a Carmen Ghia, and one of those orange Carmen Ghias,
Yeah.
and he didn't he didn't end up paying for it, so I took over the loan on it. I'm so sorry I got rid of that car, because that car now is worth I think I paid about $3,000 off on the loan on it. That car in good condition now is worth between $40,000 and $50,000. So I can remember every car I ever had, and the fun and the non-fun I had in it, and the accidents I had in it. Yeah, some people are like that. You trace the journey of your life through the cars you have.
Yeah, and the adventures you had in them.
Yeah, and the adventures they took you to, and somehow took you away from as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I was speaking with Thorin Christian, Main Street Magazine, mainstreetmag.com on the web. Something I want to plug ahead of time because it's not that far off. Yeah, it's about a month or 2 months off, but I know that you'll be covering it. And that is, and the reason I'm doing this is Lime Rock Park just got finished by hosting Trade Secrets. And Lime Rock has always been a good neighbor by allowing things to happen, bike rides and stuff like that. But they're now even more helping out nonprofits. And the 11th annual Chef and Farmers Brunch is coming up, and it helps the Northeast Community Center do the impressive things they do. And where is it being held this year? On Sunday, at Lime Rock Park.
Yep.
Lime Rock Park is a place where you can hold big events, not affect traffic, have plenty of room for everybody to park and ease to get to, not just racing. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that because this is a pretty big event for the Northeast Community Center. I think the first one, if I remember, it started in front of the Inn in Millerton.
I think they've had a couple there, if I'm not mistaken. But it's, I think, one of their biggest, if not the biggest, fundraiser for their organization all year long. So it is a super important event for them.
Yeah, and once again, kudos to Lime Rock Park for opening up and doing things with the grounds that help benefit the community. Well, so here we are. We're sitting in the middle of May, and I always like to do this in the middle of the month, and talk to you about one or two of the stories. And what's the issue in June going to be on?
We don't have a theme in June. It's always just a little summer, a little this and that. So we're working on that, or I'm working on that right now, putting the editorial together. All my writers have been very good about getting stuff to me early. So we've got, let me see, we have a big story about the Renaissance of Great Barrington. Ian takes us on a journey out of the area for a little hiking excursion that he went on. And then we have, Christine's real estate is about what's happening in Ankrum and Ankrum-Dale. There's some controversy over this way, and so she dives into that, and a bunch of other stories as well.
All right. Now, how did the tree removal go in Millerton? I know there were some people worried about that, but they're putting in sidewalks there, and
Yep.
they took down trees because you can't have those trees that are going under sidewalks and putting new sidewalks. Did it go smoothly and nobody was too upset by it?
Well, we've all known that it was going to happen. The sidewalk project was supposed to actually happen last fall, but they delayed it due to weather, which is fine. And they are actually starting. They started yesterday, but they started taking down the trees last week. What they did was they took down some of the diseased trees, as well as the ones that were in the way and ones that have roots going underneath and kind of already ruining the sidewalk that's there. So they removed all those, but they are replacing all the trees that they took down. So they started yesterday officially, and with the sidewalk that is, and they were supposed to start on the lower end of town, but because they're putting in electrical boxes by each tree for the holiday lights, there was some snafu with that, so they're actually starting up top by me and Alley Design. And so Cole from the town, or from the village of Millerton, was there yesterday putting up no parking cones, and I saw some of the crews. So they're gonna be starting up by us, this week, and hopefully tearing up a sidewalk. And I'm excited for my neighbor Eleanor at 52 Main, that she'll have brand new sidewalk before Memorial Day.
I remember when they did this in Great Barrington. Great Barrington had the beautiful blooming trees, and they had to come down. They were doing major sidewalk and roadway, and it was just an outrage for people. And it was a shock because in that springtime you came into town and you had full-grown mature trees that looked beautiful. It'll be back there again sooner or later, and it's, you know what? The town has to progress, and you have to have safe sidewalks. And putting in the electric boxes by the trees is just a brilliant idea. It's a great plan, and I'm glad it didn't create a big brouhaha in Millerton.
No, they've prepared us, and Townscape has been working very closely with the village and with the crews there, and they're, I think, funding part of that. So they're donations from people who support Townscape. That's all their work. So please continue to support Townscape as well. But because the Christmas lights that they put up are beautiful every year. So, but there are trees going back in, ones that won't destroy the sidewalks, because as you said, it's safety is most important, and the sidewalks on that side of the street are long overdue. And so it's wonderful that the village is finally able to do that, and we'll have beautiful sidewalks on that side of the street, because a couple of years ago they put in over a new sidewalk by the diner and Montage and the Antique Center, and it looks so nice. So we're excited on my side of the street where my office is. We're excited to have new sidewalk to look just as pretty.
All right. Well, Main Street Magazine, available, of course, at pickup throughout the tri-state region, and also mainstreetmag.com on the web. Thorin, have a great week. We'll speak to you next week.
Sounds fantastic.
Take care.
Bye.
That is Main Street Magazine on Robin Hood Radio. Once again, you can find them on the web, mainstreetmag.com.